Hey, this video is an at-home video to help out with 2.1.1. It's dot plots and bar graphs. Make sure that you put the appropriate date for this assignment. So you can take just a second and pause that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through some pictures today. And some pictures are to help us kind of understand what's happening in here, okay? So we are waiting for that to edit. There we go. And so now that I can at least take a chance to kind of draw on this, this is just one example from one of the classes here the other day. And what I have is down there at the bottom, so this is called a dot plot. And there we go. And it's called the dot plot. And this question was how many pets? Okay, so you would take your dot and you come on up here and you place your dot wherever that happens to be. Maybe you're this person. If you place your dot there, that means that you have 3 pets. Okay, that you have 3 pets. If you place it here, that means that you have 1 pet. Okay, if you place that here, you had 8 or more pets. Okay, so some of the key things that we need to be able to do is to be able to understand or read this on dot plot. And one of the things that we need to be able to do is understand what are the most frequent occurrences. Now, in this case, we have a tie for the most frequent occurrences. It's 2 and 3. And what does that mean to be frequent occurrences? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 of these. So we have a tie, right? 3 people have 3 pets, and 3 people also have 2 pets. So that's why we call it the most frequent occurrence. No, 2 R's. I gotta fix that spelling. Sorry about that. I think it's 2 R's, E-N-C-E. Most frequent occurrence. We have 2 of them. Now, the least frequent occurrence is oftentimes part of the debate in class, and students will think it is the 1 or the 8 because it has just one occurrence. But actually, the least frequent occurrence is the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frequent occurrence, because they're 0. In this case, they're 0, right? They're not always 0. 0 is less than 1 occurrence, right? So, for example, that is 1 occurrence. Well, that's still more than the 0 occurrences, okay? All right. So, lastly, I think a big question could be, could you tell me what, if you're looking at this class and this class data, could you tell me, where do most students sit? And you could say the most frequent occurrence means that we have students that are between the 2 and 3, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about advantages and disadvantages of each chart because that's kind of the summary of today, right? So I have this written in another chart to show you, but if we just talk about the advantages as we're looking at this, I think the advantages, it's very easy to see, who has a lot of pets, who has a few pets, who has no pets, right? And it kind of helps to just give us an idea. If one person had a pet, but they have 20 pets, that makes a big difference than 3 people that have 2 pets, right? So our charts just look so much more unique for something like that, right? So it's kind of nice to see how many that each has. The downside is, I don't know, right? I don't know what, let me choose a different color here. I don't know what pets that person has. Right? What pet do they have? I don't know. 2 dogs? 2 cats? 2 fish? Turtles? Snakes? I'm not sure. And that's a downside to this, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, okay? So let me get out of here. So the first one is a dot plot, right? You should at least just write that part down in your notes as we go, okay? So now let me go back. Let's go to the next one that we discussed. The next one we discussed is called a bar graph, okay? So you can write that one into your notes too. Pause if you need to, because that's your chance, right? You can control this. So this one's called a bar graph. It looks a lot like the histograms that we were doing before, okay? And what's really nice about this one is you are in either category, right? You are either in this dog category or you're in the cat category. Now, this is a different class, so if you're trying to count them up and say, hey, is this the same amount? It's just a different class, right? You're in dog or you're a cat. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to see. I have 6 people with dogs, and I have 3 people that have cats, right? That part is really nice about that. But there's some downsides, and maybe you're actually asking yourself some of the downsides yourself. Or say, how many times can I say yourself, huh? You might be asking yourself some questions. What if you have no pets? Where do you go? Where are you supposed to be on this chart, right? What if you have a cat and a dog? Where are you supposed to go? So the downside to this bar graph is we don't have a lot of flexibility. You're either a dog or a cat. You had one dot, one placement. You can't put it in both dog and cat. And so what I'll show you is one that a certain class struggled with. Here's one. You can see students struggled because they had 4 people that had cat and a dog. They didn't know where to go. And then you can also see one lone person on the right in red. I don't know. They're probably thinking, I don't have a cat or a dog. Where do I go? So there were some struggles with this one, okay? But it is very nice and very clear, right? So the last one we talked about were Venn diagrams. And I made sure to emphasize what is a Venn diagram. If you're inside of a circle, you are part of that group. So for example, if you are inside that blue circle, you own a dog. If you are inside that red circle, you own a cat. Now, you could take a second and pause and just look at this. If you have a dog, where would you go? If you have a cat, where would you go? What if you had a dog and cat? Where would you go? And if you had no pets, where would you go? And lastly, what if you had 8 turtles? Where would you go? Right? So let's take a look at one of the charts that we had. Which one did I want to touch base on? It was actually that one. So it adds a little bit to our discussion for this one is we have some spots that are all over. Did you think about this one out here as an option? Right? That's a possibility, and we can talk about why that person's there. So let me re-emphasize what this means, right? If you are inside this circle, you have a dog. Right now, what do I know? I know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 people that have a dog. But what's really nice about this, excuse me, is the Venn diagram for this part is I still offer the cat part, right? And the cats, I have 1, 2, 3 people that have cats, right? So what's really nice is this middle section, and I'm going to label it purple because that's where blue and red meet, right? That section right there is my cat and dog group. This is dog only, and this is cat only. So, what about this person, right? Now, it's very important. You can't just say they don't have a cat or dog, or I'm sorry, they don't have a pet. What you'd say is they don't have a cat or a dog, right? So I'm just going to say it is no cat, or dog. Okay, I'm going to fix that C. They have no cat or dog. That means it could be no pets. That means that it could be turtles. That means that it could be fish, tarantulas, snakes, right? I don't know, but they just don't have a cat or a dog, okay? So I'm not going to dive too deep in this, but I will tell you that you do have the capability of adding other circles, but the more circles you add, the more complex it gets. So if I put this circle in here and I labeled this a fish circle, right? If you labeled that a fish circle, you could be in this group, and this group says you're fish only. This group says you're cat and fish. This group says you're cat or fish and dog, sorry, and this group right here says you have dogs, cats, and fish. So you can see that if I just put one more circle in, man, I get a lot more crazy options, and it almost gets way too confusing for us to do, okay? So let me get out of here. Let me go back and summarize what we've done. I want you to add, sorry about that, I want you to add some stuff to your notes. We have a dot plot, a bar graph, and a Venn diagram, and I wrote some advantages and disadvantages. I want you to write, you're gonna have to pause the video, you're gonna have to write in there, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each, okay? A dot plot has the exact amount of pets, and they have the most or least occurrences. Very easy. Disadvantage is, what pet do they have? How many of each pet? Under a bar graph, they have very simple categories. You are either one group or another group. Very easy to read, but there's no option for blended. What if you're a cat and dog? How many pets do they have? I don't know. A Venn diagram, many options, right? It's very flexible, very flexible. But if we look under the disadvantages, how many of them do they have? And some are more difficult to, I feel like they're a little bit more difficult to understand. So if you have any other questions, please let me know. Have a good day.